So we have talked about schedule maximization. I remember because it was very hard for me to say that over in
Episode 12.
episode 12. And it was very hard for me to say that over and over again. Thank God. This is not schedule maximization, but it is a close cousin, which we're going to be talking about a kissing cousin, if you will, capacity and utilization. So, first of all, before we get into this, because I think that, at least for me, capacity and utilization, some people use interchangeably. What is the difference between capacity and utilization?
Capacity is the way I look at it is the amount of slots you have open on the schedule.
Okay.
When we look at utilization and like a utilization percentage, we're literally taking how many hours we have and we're dividing it by the hours we have booked. And that's how you're getting your percentage of utilization.
Okay. So utilization in like layman's terms would be the use of the room,
Mm-hmm.
and capacity is availability of the room.
Correct.
Okay. Cool. Now that we've got that under control, let's talk about creating capacity.
Yes. You used that perfectly.
Did I?
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. I like when I do things perfectly. Tell Zach, report to Zach. But what I will say with capacity, I have a different take on this. And I know
Mhm.
people aren't used to this because we're in such harmony all of the time at work that I think they're going to be shocked to know that this is something that we don't see eye to eye on. And personally, when it comes to creating capacity, and what I mean by that is not this necessarily there's demand and you're overflowing. And so you're like, I have to add capacity because to fit more people in, we have to do this. This is a brand new thing to me.
Mhm.
I'm having like almost a resistance to this concept because it goes against what I know in our industry, which is you're adding, in my eyes, you're adding capacity to add capacity, and let's just see what happens.
Right, because you're thinking of it as like, even though our utilization might be in the 60s and I'm going out there as a manager and I'm adding more hours,
Yes.
why the heck would you do that if you already have?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because that goes against everything I've been trained to do. And for me, I'm like, now you've just put more pressure on us to fill the books when we were already trying to fill the 40%. You talked about 60%. So why would you do that? Also, one other thing, and I'll let you give your counterpoint.
Okay.
The other thing I think is it hurts your brand. So I think the idea of someone calls and they're like, I would like to get in today. And you're like, awesome, I got you covered.
Mhm.
I'm like, ugh. Like, why are you able to take me so quickly and easily? To me, like, that hinders my perception of value of that place. Why can I get in so quickly?
Yeah. So let me start with like some of the metrics that we look at. So we look at a lot of data before doing these types of things
Mhm.
and we look at the demand. So a big piece of what we do, a lot of practices are open all at the same time. We've talked about this before, like a
Mhm.
9 to 5 type schedule. We are not allowing for the demand of like the worker person coming in
The
later at
worker
night.
person.
So Saturdays is another example, is weekends. So you have to look at the schedule and identify what these gaps are first before you go and open rooms, open times, is you have to already look at like, okay, where can't people get in? We also measure lead time. So if I'm looking at my new patients can't get in for 7+ days, that's a problem because we all know if you're a new patient, you finally decided to make the move, who knows how long it took you to make that call. And you're like, oh my God, I'm finally going to do filler. I call and I'm like, we're so slammed, which is great. And you might think in your head, that's awesome. I love that they're so
Mhm.
busy. We can't get you until next week. Guess what? I made my mind up. I wanted to get this. And now I'm probably, even if I book it, I may call back and cancel because I found somewhere else that's going to do it before then.
So you're telling me that if you call somewhere and you're trying to get in and they're like, we can take you today or we can take you in a couple of days, red flags aren't going up in your head?
Not at all. And I'll tell you why. Because what if they're only open 2 days a week from 9 to 4? Of course they're slammed.
I mean, that's an exaggeration.
Well, but you see where I'm going with that is maybe they are all booked out, their providers, and they don't know everything that
Yeah.
goes on behind it, which is why to me, because I do see behind the scenes, it's not a red flag.
Hmm. What about the patients that don't see behind the scenes though? How do you temper that?
So it's all in your verbiage. So you can
Okay.
easily, if you're someone at the front desk and you're training how to say that, you know what, we just had a last minute cancellation today at 3 o'clock. Does that work for you?
Yeah. Okay.
It
So,
still
I mean,
creates this like urgency to get in, but it doesn't impact your brand negatively to where people are like, they must not be great if they have all this availability. Because we're not saying the day is wide open. What time do you want to come in? We have multiple providers that could
phrase.
see you.
We're wide open. And I get it, because I guess the concept is the same. When your books are light, we do the same thing. Like, we coach our front desk never to say like, oh, we're totally open, or we're wide open, or absolutely free. Like,
And-
with nothing on the books. That's also a red flag to people. So I like the idea of being able to say, like, we've had some last minute cancellations where we've been able to do whatever.
And remember what I said too in the beginning is we are identifying gaps, and we're identifying
Per my previous email
needs that that we're not able to fill. So if we're creating opportunities, the demand is there and we know it.
How do you know that, by the way?
So we use Power BI, and so we're able to look at all this data. We have a heat map where we can analyze times and what are the times that are filling most, or where we have opportunities and people aren't booking because we're not open. So we're not able to get people in. And then we see with these slight adjustments, when we're opening up an hour or two later in the evening, or we open up on a Saturday, it fills, and that shows in the data.
Okay. So these magical time slots that you're opening, they're just automatically filling. You open them up and now, boom, they're filled.
So
is that just extra pressure on your marketing team? Thanks a lot.
No, so let me just give you a little bit of stats of kind of how we looked at this and what we did.
Okay.
So we went through, we looked at the schedule. We ended up opening 54 shifts in November, and these are 8-hour days, right? That's a lot of hours on the schedule. Then what we did is we pulled people forward. So we also have another tool that we're able to look at who's booked out, like 8 to 14 days, 15 to 30 days, and 60 plus days. You can go in and call those people and move them forward. Now, I understand people book at a certain time, or maybe they're rebooking 3 months out and it doesn't work for everybody. However,
why are you taking my argument away from me?
There are people that can get in, and we were able to move a bunch of people forward because we're only talking a week or two difference. So then we're giving them the opportunity. Hey, we just had this open up on so-and-so schedule. I see that you're booked out for a couple weeks. Would you like to come in sooner? We can see you.
See, that also just like that is challenging for me. And because you were raised like I was raised, which is a client chooses a time slot. Under no circumstance, unless a patient or a provider is sick, do you then call them and move it. The idea is they've chosen that time. So is that impacting like the actual, like,
not at all.
To me, it impacts the interaction. It impacts like that white glove service where it's like, I told you what I wanted. Why are you calling me and giving me something different?
Because people change in 3 months when I booked it, and maybe my schedule's so wildly different now that's a huge convenience for me to now know, oh my gosh, my day actually freed up. I'd love to get this done. And then now I have time next week to do other things.
Okay.
Another thing that we did besides pulling forward clients is exhausting our lists of people, meaning if we have people with open packages, we're calling those people to try and get them in. So filling our open schedules that way. We're calling people with open gift certificates. As a reminder, people who have bought Botox gift certificates, we're calling them. And then we're also utilizing our Ally and Aspire rewards and letting people know their points are expiring. If you want to come in, we had a last minute cancellation today at this time. And then lastly, what worked really well is it's a retrain of the front desk and getting them to think a little bit differently when people are calling in to book appointments. So we've talked a little bit about this before. Instead of the front desk letting the patient lead the phone call, we are now training them to take control, knowing our focus is building for November, for example, and getting them in. So saying, like, creating a real sense of urgency. Like, we cannot get tomorrow back. The revenue we lost, all the open spots on the books yesterday, we can never get that back. So let's fill today and do our best to fill today. And it all goes back to letting them know what we need to do. So today, you guys, we have to fill 10 slots on the schedule. How are we going to do that? One way is creating a sense of urgency when people call in.
So part of this too then is they're having conversations, like everybody's basically on the same page. Because I do think that's important. If they're not, I think that's a challenge. So and the way that this whole topic came up was because, again, it goes against what I know to be true or knew to be true. But this all kind of surrounded around an initiative that we did where we did like a big push within Alpha to kind of like, all right, let's see if we create capacity, what will happen. And like, what did you guys do to help motivate that? Because I will say, like, you guys did have a lot of really solid communication internally. The management team had a lot of solid communication with their teams. Like, everyone was singing from the same song sheet.
Mhm.
I don't know that what you guys accomplished would have been possible did that not happen. So can you talk through that a little bit? Because I think most of the people listening are like me in our industry. We've never viewed that, capacity sooner, more available was necessarily a better thing. That might be a red flag.
Mhm.
So kind of talk through what that process looked like to be able to
Yeah.
do what you did. And like, was it meaningful? Did you see growth? Or did you just create gaps down the line that
Right.
then we have to fill
And
too?
erode our margins with labor.
Yeah.
So this takes a lot of planning, and this started a couple months before we decided to roll out this. So it we planned it. What are we going to do? Then we worked with our teams. Hey, here's what we're going to be doing. We see that there's a demand. Clients cannot get in. We need to start opening our schedules. So that's where it started in each of the clinics with all of the providers.
Hmm.
We got their buy-in. We've talked about that so much, is you have to help them understand the why. Once you get that, we started opening up shifts. Then we created a ton of hype around it. We were like, this is this fun contest we're going to be doing for November. We started getting all the hype. We opened up the schedules. We had really fun prizes, like really fun, meaningful prizes that were so out of the norm of what we would typically see in med spas. Normally we're doing stuff in-house or like dinners.
Yeah.
This was like major prizes that were super motivating. And then we had weekly updates on our Slack channels, keeping everyone super hyped to the point where they were like reaching out. Where are we at? Did I grow them up? Like whatever our contest was, they were like itching to know where they ranked.
I do think with any contest, that's key. I think that if you launch a contest, everyone's excited, but you don't actually give them progress and tell them how they're doing or where you're at to goal, I think that you lose interest. And you guys did a really great job. My only thing is you said something. You said hype. So is this sustainable?
Yeah.
Like, you guys, I do think that you had great results, but you said it. You planned a couple months in advance. You had to do all this. You created gaps on the schedule. Then you had to put in this effort to try to fill the gaps on the schedule. Like, then you're creating gaps in the future. So is this actually sustainable? Was it worth everything you guys did? And can it be like
It
ongoing?
was, and I'll tell you why, because now I see the data from it, and I see now, what month are we in? March. So we did this in November. So now I can see the aftermath of it. So what happened was revenue per day went up $115,000 a day. Visits went
That's
up.
across all
That's across our
practices, though.
platform.
Yeah.
Right.
So multiple practices. Just for a caveat, because that sounds phenomenal.
Okay. So we saw growth in every single practice per day on a per day visit. And then patient visits went up from 360 to 475. So we saw an increase in visits. We saw an increase in revenue. We saw an increase in patient satisfaction, because we also measure that through SurveyMonkey. So, and then the bottom line, that's what we all have been talking about, right? Did it impact the bottom line as far as labor? No. Our EBITDA went up 10% in November.
So it did impact it, but in a positive way.
In a positive way. And keep in mind, we did more revenue in November than October, and there were 4 less working days in November.
Yeah.
And we crushed what we did the previous month with
I'm
4 additional days.
so tempted to just feel like that seasonality, but
So, and the thing is, providers made more money. We didn't compromise on safety or patient satisfaction. And then we as a business made more money. It was a win-win-win on all factors.
And so how did that affect the future?
So now because the providers and the teams have seen
what's possible,
the method to how we fill the books, they now know that it's worth opening up their schedule, staying late another hour, adding a Saturday, because everyone won on that. So I'm seeing it consistently now throughout the practices where people are adding more days.
So being that you come from where I come from, was this shocking to you?
Yeah. It was shocking, because it's a little bit scary when we talk about opening up all those shifts when some of our newer providers may still have availability on their schedule. But I'm a firm believer now in this method, and it's a full team effort. You need every single person bought in, and you really need the training in advance for the front desk to understand the importance of the visits and why conversion is also so important, which I know from like a marketing perspective is also a measurement that we look at.
Yeah, that's a very big deal. And what I will say is this, because it's killing me now. I lied a little bit. I I do feel I was very opposed to this. And everything I said, I still, I'm not gonna lie, I still push back a little bit, but because I saw the results that you guys had, I was shocked. And I was
Mhm.
telling people, I'm like, I've never done this. Like, I've never thought this way. I've never been like sooner is better. And when I really was honest with myself and thought about it, I was like, okay, when I call my hairstylist and I'm like, I have to get in this week, and she's just like, I don't have availability this week. You're like, well, what do I do? Like, I'm very tempted to go elsewhere because I'm like, I've got to get it done and I'll go
Mhm.
back. I'll find my way back. But then they squeeze me in and I'm like, oh, awesome. I'm never like, that's a red flag that they were able to squeeze me in. I'm always like, that actually made me feel good that they took care of me. So retrospectively, I can see also why there's that idea of retention. I will still say, though, that there is a part of this where it's not going to automatically fill up. Like, you're not, even though it is those areas of demand where you're seeing people want these days, when you open up a new day or you're opening up extended hours, it's new to your patient. They're not going to automatically know.
Mhm.
So there is a partnership there too with marketing. And it's not to say that we're putting on all of this extra like baggage on the marketing and pressure of like, all right, we've opened up. We need you to fill the books.
Mhm.
I think it's a partnership. So you mentioned a lot of things that the practices did to also fill the books. But then bringing in marketing, I think that having a collaboration and having a plan of, hey, this is our plan. Here's what we're going to do. Because you also don't want your marketing team to be reactive.
Right.
Like, hey, we have nothing on the books. We need you to fill it.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's not going to happen because you're being smart about where you're expanding your hours. But I would say that there needs to be a plan with your marketing team and let them know in on the conversation. Here's what we're seeing. We're opening up these days, and come up with a plan together of what that looks like. And it could be digital ads. It could be internal stuff. It could be using your existing list. So make sure to include them in that conversation. So overall, in general, capacity, utilization, this was really hard for me. I
Mhm.
still have questions about it. I know it's somewhat new. We have time. I'm really impressed by the initial results. I think that all of the teams are really impressed. It was something that blew open my mind having been in this industry for 17 years. I'm really excited by it,
Yeah.
but I do think that it would be really cool to come back in a few months to kind of talk about how we've seen this like long-term effect on
Yeah.
everything. But
I agree. And I think another piece to this though that you need to keep measuring the metrics, right? Like
measure the metrics.
our rebooking did go up too. And that's another big piece of this. This was
Hmm.
not just slamming people
I
to
didn't
get
know
them
that.
in and then they didn't rebook. So I think the bottom line to this is you have to get buy-in from everybody. You all need to be on the same page and understand and keep people motivated daily
Yeah.
and weekly to make the moves.
And I think share the why. Share the
Mhm.
why and collaborate with your marketing team. Be smart about the days that you extend. So I think that's multifaceted to make it
Mhm.
work. But bottom line is,
Plan in advance and execute.
yeah,